where the jury here in Las Vegas will weigh in. That is the very latest from the courthouse here in Clark County. I'll send it back to you, Julie.
All right, our thanks to Matt Johnson for that early update. Now let's talk some more about this case. I want to welcome in two great trial attorneys in Massachusetts. We've got former homicide prosecutor in Norfolk County, Rick Grundy, and joining us in Arizona, former criminal defense attorney, Kirk Nurmi. Great to see you both. All right, I'm going to start by playing that clip all about the alibi that got blown up on Friday. Let's take a look.
She's asking, where are you, right?
Yes.
At that same time, at 10:30 in the morning, we've seen video surveillance of a car that you say looks just like mine driving in Mr. Gehrman's neighborhood, correct?
That is correct.
This was the moment, as a matter of fact, on Friday that everybody was talking about. Rick Grundy, start us off. Your thoughts, please.
Well, I knew if you're going to ask me what the defense attorney should do from here, you may have stumped me for the first time, but it was just bad from start to finish. The hand in the chin, the tone of his voice, the cavalier way he's weaving this story. He was not only if you put the story to the side, just his acting was offensive. And if I were on a juror, I would be turned off, and that makes it difficult to hear what they're saying. As far as the defense is concerned, in a case like this, if you choose to show up the next day, you've got to live with that. It's not like you're going to throw out, well, you know what? Look, you just heard all that. He's crazy. You got to stick with what he's put out there. And you've got to use your abilities as an advocate to put him forth in a more cogent, believable fashion than this defendant ever could. And you got to deal with all the bumps along the road that the defendant laid down during his testimony. So it's a Herculean task before them.
That's a great way to put it, Rick. It is a Herculean task for these attorneys who are very well known in Las Vegas, very prominent attorneys there, excellent work they had done laying the groundwork, and then he has to get up there on the stand and just wreck it all. Kirk Nurmi, you know a lot about difficult clients. My goodness, you could be an expert on this. For anyone new to the show, Kirk represented Jodi Arias, famously saved her life. Kirk, what do you think these attorneys are going through? Like right now when they're thinking about how do we manage this mess the morning of closing arguments?
Well, Julie, I think my answer is going to surprise you a little bit, because this is the kind of case where really there's no pressure on the defense attorney. There is no credible case for Mr. Tellis' innocence. So there's not a lot of pressure there. Those cases where you think the client might be innocent and they're overcharged, there's a lot of pressure going into closing arguments. Here in this case, they know that their client's guilty. They put him up in a narrative because there's actually evidence to contradict what he was saying. So, you know, I feel they have no pressure. All they really need to do is provide a competent closing argument, because ultimately that's what's their competency is really going to be what seals this case on appeal, what have you. Now, Julie, I would say too, given what we've seen in Mr. Tellis and given the posture of the case right now, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Mr. Tellis get up and do his own closing argument.
Kirk, what if that happens? Oh my goodness. I hope you're right. I really hope you're right. You know, because as you said, these attorneys have been so good. That's a great point. The pressure should be off of them. You know, let him just take the ball. I mean, clearly he doesn't think he needs representation. Something that I want to make sure everyone's aware of, because we followed this case for a long time, but there were just so many issues with him. It was hard to keep track, but he was pro se for a long time. And then these attorneys were just retained right before trial to help him with the trial. I've got a clip where he's on the stand. This is where he's talking about that straw hat, claiming he never bought one.
I did not buy a straw hat. I did not buy a construction shirt. I was fully investigated on my finances. I believe that if I had, that you would see evidence of that.
Okay, Rick Grundy, can you believe this guy is a lawyer? I mean, he's not a trial lawyer. That was very clear, to all of us very early on. But he's a lawyer. I mean, he at least had some training in the way things work. And he thinks that what he was doing up there was a good idea, apparently.
So regardless of any training he had from preschool on up, he thinks that, and let's focus on the politician of him versus the lawyer of him. The politician of him sees themselves as an advocate. You see, obviously, a lot of lawyers become politicians, and it's a segue, depending which direction you're going, it could work either way, to be a good trial advocate, which he clearly is not. But what he's doing is he thinks, I'm smarter, I'm very convincing, I have a very good manner about me. And the jury, I'm going to fool the jury. I'm going to get them into my confidence, and they'll see that, there's not enough there to get beyond reasonable doubt.
Right. Yeah, I think that assessment is spot on, Rick. He does. I think he thinks he is the smartest person in the room and just has everybody eating out of the palm of his hand. The jurors initially were leaning in, listening closely when he started his testimony, had their notebooks out, and then apparently they were looking up at the ceiling and, probably praying for it to be over. Kirk Nurmi, I want to go back to you, please. In terms of a defense strategy here at this point, you mentioned, and wouldn't that be something if Robert Tellis gives his own close? Do you have that discussion with him? I mean, what do you think his attorneys are saying to him? Do you think they even suggest that, perhaps you can argue this, more to your liking, Mr. Tellis?
I don't think they'd make that suggestion. I think if he were to decide to take over and hijack and use some of the things that Rick talked about, his hubris, his narcissism, as a way to kind of drive his closing argument to make sure he can convince the people the way he fooled voters years ago, I think that would be his choice based on the discussion of what the closing argument will entail. Because if I'm his attorney, I'm probably telling him when we talk about closing argument that we're going to talk about reasonable doubt. We're going to talk about, maybe trying, even though there's no legitimate argument to be made, trying to make for a lesser clue to defense, what have you. And if he doesn't like what he's hearing, I could see him going into the judge and saying, I want to represent myself now and have these people as standby counsel. So I think that's really what it would be a product of, as opposed to, the attorneys putting a particular thing forward or suggesting that he do it.
Yeah, no, great analysis. I can't wait to see what happens, Kirk. Now you have me like this, I was already on the edge of my seat waiting, because I think it's going to be a really fast verdict today, but wouldn't that be something if he gives his close? I'm so glad we get to have you both come along with us for another segment. Kirk Nurmi, Rick Grundy, stand by, please. When we come back, we're talking about defendant Karen Read. She's looking ahead to a new trial with the same charges. Will the strategies from either side change?
And how have you been holding up since the mistrial?
Always strong, always. I will not be broken. It will not break me.
Your message for all the supporters out here.
Thank you as always. Thank you as always.
All right, we're going to talk about what round two is going to look like for her. And she's 15 years old and charged with the murder of her own mother. What could tip the scales for defendant Carly Gregg at her plea hearing?
Saturday nights, all season long, the National Women's Soccer League is on ION.
Welcome to the NWSL!
The greatest players in the world compete here. 14 teams battling for the bling. Welcome to the beautiful game. The NWSL is on ION. Find where to watch on IONNWSL.com.